listening to the Cricket Podcast.
I think it was a disgraceful performance, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again.
That is very good.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast where we're basically running T20 World Cup daily at the moment. Today there was only one match as Afghanistan took on and pulverised Scotland, hitting 190 runs before bowling the Scots out for just 60, or was it 61? Not very many runs. I am Jack Hope and I am joined by Max Rowe-Brown. Max, you've been on a week-long spa retreat. Are you back and feeling suitably refreshed?
If only. I'd be feeling very refreshed if it were a spa retreat. Most of it's been in the pub, so I think I need a week off from
where have you
hijinks. I've just been busy in the evenings. I've been in my normal town and home, but just been life getting in the way. Enjoying myself too much.
Cool. Right, do you want to give the listeners, the viewers, a couple of messages before we roll on in earnest?
Yeah, absolutely. So please do like and subscribe to this video and our channel on YouTube, and also head over to Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod, and get involved there. Get in touch with us. Send in your questions, all that sort of fun, and we'll get you involved. We're also sponsored by Woodstock Cricket, so if you're in the market for some new gear, head over there and use code TCP25 to get 25% off.
Yeah, do all of those things. And we're on Patreon, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod, to sign up and support the show directly. If you like what we do, it's the best thing that you can do for us. The next best thing to sharing. So, I don't know, go and retweet this loads. Send it to your mum. We know lots of mums like our podcast. My mum loves it, for example. So share the podcast with your mum. Let's grow this subscriber base. Let's grow this podcast. We lost subscribers yesterday. I'm not sure why. I think something must have happened in the India-Pakistan game.
Yeah, one of those coincidences. I'm sure.
YouTube, they must have just been getting rid of dead accounts or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Anyway, Max, today that's what we're here to talk about. Afghanistan v Scotland. What happened?
Absolutely, yes. So Scotland, fresh from beating Bangladesh in their group stage win and topping their group. It's time for them to test themselves against some of the big boys, and they were eased into that by facing off against one of the sort of newly crowned members of international cricket and full members in the shape of Afghanistan, who'd managed to edge out the aforementioned Bangladesh and Sri Lanka into automatic qualification for the Super 12s. So big day for Scotland to see how they would fare against some of the other nations that they perhaps aspire to be in the not too distant future. Afghanistan won the toss, batted first, and they were hoping that their opening pair of Mohammad Shahzad and Hazratullah Zazai could pile on a weight of runs that befitted their weight in body mass, perhaps you could say. And actually, the signs at first were that was very much the case, as the two of them got Afghanistan off to a pretty blistering start. Scotland pulled them back slightly. Mark Watt was miserly and managed to snag a wicket, and Scotland thought maybe they would be able to drag things back, but not to be, as Najibullah Zadran came in and he teed off while Gurbaz nurdled around, and Afghanistan went from strength to strength really and piled on a pretty imposing total of 190 for 4 from their 20 overs. So Scotland work cut out to try and chase that down. And if you try and chase down that kind of score, you need to utilise all the strengths you have. And George Munsey went into overdrive on that particular front, deciding he was going to approach the game by trying to reverse sweep absolutely everything that came his way at the start. Yeah, it looked like it might pay off. He scored a 6, scored a 4, got Scotland going, but soon Mujeeb was brought on, and he bowled a googly to Carl Kurtzer, which he missed. And then he bowled a googly to Callum McLeod, which he missed. And then he bowled a googly to Richie Berrington, which which he missed, and suddenly Scotland were done. Naveen got in on the act. Mohamed Shahzad rolled back the years and reminded us all of Dwayne Leverock of Bermuda. And then Rashid came on and bowled a googly, which Michael Lee missed, and then bowled some more googlies, which everyone else missed. And Scotland needs to practice googlies, Jack. That's what I've taken from this game.
That's the takeaway, isn't it? If you're the analyst right now, maybe they've never seen a googly before. That was what I thought at
googlies
first.
in associate cricket.
That's what I thought at first. Then I found out that Scotland have actually beaten Afghanistan in an ODI, and Callum McLeod has hit 158 against an attack that had Rashid Khan in. So either they were playing on an actual road, a road paved with glass, or Scotland just had an incredibly bad day at the office. I mean, possibly it was a little bit difficult to bat on what was a fourth innings, or like a fourth innings pitch, effectively. I think they played yesterday there, didn't they? And then they played on it again. So yeah, it would have been the fourth innings, albeit the innings are only 20 balls. Why don't we start with the positive from Scotland's point of view? I genuinely mean this. I don't think they bowled that badly. I think it was one of those days at Sharjah where you've got a 55-metre boundary, the air is thin, or whatever it is, that means the ball goes flipping miles, and you're up against a team that are determined to hit sixes. I thought, like 190 looks ugly, but I think they will bowl worse than that and win games. Particularly like Mark Watt. If he isn't playing in a few franchise tournaments, maybe not the big ones, but if he isn't going to like the CPL or whatever in the next few years, or even the Big Bash, I'd be surprised. He looks like the absolute business, bowling like kind of a mixture of seam up and left arm orthodox. I thought their bowling was fine. Max is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't think they did too badly. I suppose it wasn't necessarily the best bowling performance in the world, but yeah, it wasn't. You can't put it down to them just bowling complete pie. Like, and the fact that Mark Watt went for 23 off his 4 overs, meaning the rest went for 167 off their remaining 16, is not. It doesn't look great. But I mean, it was Sharjah, which we know has a short boundary, and I think that the pitch is slightly over to one side as well, isn't it? So it was even shorter on one side than normal. That said, we saw the 100-meter mark broken in the six distance hitting contests. On I don't know how accurate they are at working out how far the ball's going to go when it hits the roof or hits the car park, but there were some big blows in there, alongside some that obviously would have been caught in any normal game of cricket.
You're underselling that, aren't you, Max? In the tournament, so there's been hundreds of sixes hit in this tournament so far. The 5 biggest sixes all happened today.
Yeah,
think about that. That's mayhem.
It was huge. It was absolutely. It was. It was amazing. It was amazing hitting, and you got to give some huge credit to Afghanistan and the way they play cricket and the way they're playing T20. They're just coming out and trying to absolutely marvelise everything, and that is brilliant.
They must be the team with the biggest guns in the tournament, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, we didn't see him today, but one of the guys who didn't bat, let me just get his name. I think was it Gulbuddin Naib? He's a bodybuilder in his spare time as well. They didn't even need that guy. And they were hitting multiple sixes over 100 metres. That last one, the second last ball, the penultimate ball of the innings, that Najibullah hit, that went further than 103 metres. It came back, but when they flashed up the replay of it, the actual six tracker was blank. It tapped out. It couldn't actually figure out how far it went. And then I don't know. They obviously got they did a manual override and were like, well, it was bigger than the one that was 101 metres. But let's not say anything ridiculous. 103. That wasn't 103 metres. That's still going.
Maybe.
That's in orbit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on its second loop round the planet. It's space junk. In a few years,
maybe it'll take out Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk at one point.
They're gonna have to set a big net, to fish back the fucking Tesla that idiot Musk put in space and that cricket ball. They'll have to retrieve them, otherwise the International Space Stations are going to be in danger. It was stunning.
Yeah.
11 sixes.
But, yeah.
Every 10th
Scotland
ball for 6.
So essentially, what you were saying, like Scotland were on the end of it going right for Afghanistan today, weren't they? Like they approach it that way, which is great. And today it really came off, and they smacked everything. There's going to be other days where Afghanistan try and do that, and they end up bowled out for 60. But fair enough.
I'm not sure what will happen against Scotland. I think we saw probably the step up. Here it was the first micronation to come up against a big boy in this tournament so far. And I mean a real big boy here, not like a Sri Lanka big boy.
And even that was, pretty...
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Quite stunning. I haven't really got much more to say about it. I was just that, absolute fireworks. Well batted. Najibullah Zadran. That was really good. And I guess the other thing that was good to see was Mohammad Shahzad back in the side, but I think we'll probably get to his big moment later, won't we? Scotland batting. It started off all right, didn't it? George Munsey. If you're gonna only have, there are 2 players in the world, I think, with only the reverse sweep as their attacking option: George Munsey and James Anderson. So it's interesting, isn't it, that George Munsey is presumably quite a lot younger than James Anderson. I don't have this up in front of me. It's interesting that he'd model his batting technique on James Anderson, don't you think?
Yeah, well, James Anderson's a great guy and a very serious cricketer and someone that you should always look up to. So, if you're going to model any part of your game on James Anderson, then it's entirely understandable. And he does hit an absolutely stunning reverse sweep 6. He's done it in Test matches before, so why not? Why not pick that? If you're going to, maybe just pick that only shot to build yourself off James. Yeah. James Anderson. And
they used to say start with the forward defensive, don't they? Not George Munsey. Start with the reverse sweep. Build your game from there.
Fair play. If there was a ground for someone who has 2 shots, the sweep and the reverse sweep, this was it. Let's face it.
Yeah. Well, we hit 1 for 6, didn't he? He had a good innings. Kyle Kurtzman made it to double digits. And then it all went a bit binary, didn't it, for Scotland? In fact, what's worse than Nari? Is Nari the next one down? Uno Nari. This doesn't make any sense.
Unanary, yeah.
Unanary, yeah. 0, 0, 0, 0. The next 4 batters.
3 golden ducks in the innings.
On a scale of 1 to the deep end, how out of depth were Scotland against Mujeeb in the power play?
No, I mean we're talking Mariana Trench here. Yeah. It was.
You could definitely have gone off the high board without any risk.
You wouldn't need to worry about that. Yeah, it was. It was very impressive from Mujeeb. Like you have to put. He bowled his variations beautifully. He and actually attacked the stumps with them. They were all wicket-taking deliveries. It's all very well having variations, but to make them threatening is another matter. And he obviously did that. But they did get out in the space of what was like 5 deliveries of Mujeeb to the same delivery. There's out of your depth, and then there's not learning from what's just happened literally in front of your eyes.
Well, some batters, when they're on the way out, they don't like to speak to the person who's just got out because they think it's negative, and the negative situation will affect their mindset, and they're trying to be positive. So maybe that's what Scotland are like. They don't talk to the outgoing batter when they're about to line up. The outgoing batter, he's shouting, "He's got a good googly. Watch out for the wrong un." But because they're in that mindset, they just don't know. So they get out to the middle. Yeah,
it's the one thing that they ignore. Yeah, perhaps.
And that happens.
Yeah, I suppose you could argue that Richie Berrington was perhaps a little unfortunate with his one. It looked a bit leggy in real time. And
there was another one that just wasn't out.
And there was that wasn't out. Yeah, there was one that wasn't out. There was another one that was umpire's call on impact outside off, which was also pretty close to being outside off. So there are a few in there that they could argue on another day wouldn't get given, but I don't think that would have helped them very much on their quest for 190. It might have dragged their net run rate up to -4 from -6.5, but
Yeah, it's very difficult, to be honest, to analyse a game where this happens. You just have to say, Scotland did not cover themselves in glory with the bat. Mujeeb he was a class above. But also, a bit like the West Indies match the other day, you don't expect every time you miss the ball it to be going on to hit the stumps. Like sometimes you miss those and it just bounces over, or it slides a bit too far down the leg side or whatever. Basically, every time a Scottish player made a mistake, they were out today. It was a lethal cocktail of good bowling, bad batting, and a little bit of luck as well in terms of where the ball was bouncing.
The extreme end of expected outcomes from both innings, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, amazing stuff from Afghanistan though. They've surprised me, to be honest, Max. I don't know about you. We know they were good. I thought they were going to be by a distance the fourth best side in this group. I thought India, Pakistan, and New Zealand would take care of them quite comfortably, like they did in 2019. Now, Afghanistan going into 2019, people were hyping them up. They were saying, yeah, they're definitely going to win a game or two here. But actually, when it turned out that when the big boys, the best 9 teams, played their front 11s, Afghanistan was some way off the pace. And although they got into a couple of close matches, I think, with Sri Lanka, and I think they got quite close to beating India, actually, it showed that they didn't have the batting depth, or they didn't have the bowling depth, whereas the A-list sides did. Now, we don't know 100% here how much of this is Scotland having a diabolical day out, and how much of this is Afghanistan having a great day out, and where all the different permutations of good to bad performances intersect exactly. But I do feel, having seen them today, that Afghanistan are probably better than the 2019 version of Afghanistan, at least in this format.
Well, it's also shorter. Yes, exactly. It's shorter format, isn't it? So that kind of levels things up a bit. You don't have to go, you don't have to have 50 overs of high quality to make it through. Just the 20, which obviously makes things a bit easier. I was a little. Again, like you, a little surprised at how well they've started. Sort of when you consider the lead up with the interesting squad they announced with
and the Taliban.
The Taliban, but more.
I don't know if I'd describe that as an interesting build-up.
I wasn't talking so much about the Taliban invasion of the country, so much as the interesting decisions around picking the squad and Rashid Khan saying he didn't want to captain the side because they hadn't consulted him and that kind of thing. Obviously, that's linked, but slightly separate. But they came out and obviously were brilliant today. But they also put West Indies to the sword in one of the warm-ups. And I know you can't read too much into the warm-ups, but those two have continued their trajectories from that game, haven't they? Afghanistan continuing to look good, and West Indies continuing to look pretty poor in their first outing. So I think Afghanistan will maybe put some pressure on. I don't think they'll be qualifying, but they'll be definitely getting another win, I reckon. Potentially,
you're writing them off as a qualifier already.
I'm not writing them off. I'm saying I don't expect them to finally get into the top 2. But I mean, the net run rate is going to help in it. If it gets, that's almost an extra half a point that no one's going to.
No, it's more than that. They turned up playing for 2 points and have gone home with 3. It's 6.5. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I hate net run rate for many reasons, and one of the main reasons is that in games that do not involve the actual 2 teams that are in question, there can be colossal swings in expected qualification. Afghanistan are massively benefit from this today. If India went out on net run rate because Afghanistan smashed Scotland, is that a fair representation of this group? Especially because there's a situation that now exists where India could beat. India lose to New Zealand, they beat Afghanistan and the other 2 teams. They go out. They could easily then go out on net run rate to Afghanistan. Which would be dubious, I think. But anyway, well, let's when that happens, we'll have the real conversation about net run rate. But plus 6.5 is this day could not have gone better if you're Afghan.
No.
Afghani, can it? Could it? Great stuff. What does it mean for the group? What does it mean for the group, Max? You're saying they're not going to go through.
No, I mean, you would still expect Afghanistan to beat Scotland, wouldn't you? At the end of the day, like it's a really impressive performance, but I mean, it's the expected outcome, and they're still going to need to overcome two of the other big boys, I think, to get into that top two. But and yeah, I think it's more of a. I think the disappointing thing is probably for Scotland, isn't it? And like they the way they performed in that first half, you thought maybe they might be able to, sneak their way into fourth or something, and like put the cat amongst the pigeons. But as it happens, it looks like they'll be very much battling it out with Namibia for the bottom.
Yeah, it'll be a wooden spoon contest for Scotland. I'm afraid to say. I think this is mainly bad news for India because they lost to Pakistan. They now need to beat New Zealand and actually quite a good team, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think you are right. I think there's a reason that some of these players. I'm just going to say, so there's a reason some of these players play for Afghanistan, like it's like Afghanistan is Southampton, or
they
something
haven't,
like that.
they haven't
got a big money transfer
yet.
But no, what I mean is, if you look particularly on the batting side here at their batting averages, their strike rates, and so on, there's a reason they're not super elite, and you have to factor in that they're not super elite, and they mainly play against Ireland. There are some weaknesses in the batting, and I think you put Jasprit Bumrah in the Scottish attack. Yeah, I think it's a very different outcome.
All very well trying to smack low 80s bowlers for 6 at Sharjah, but yeah, like you say, throw in Jasprit Bumrah, throw in someone like Trent Boult in the power play, Shaheen Afridi, Farmer Wills.
I think it will be.
Different
It will be
story.
quite different.
Yeah.
And I think with the bat as well. Look, we all know Rashid Khan is. Well, he might be the best bowler in T20 cricket, but these other nations, they're not going to lose 4 wickets for 9 runs against him. Or very rarely is that going to happen. They might only score 20 off the 4 overs, but it won't be game-endingly bad.
5 for 20 for Mujeeb and 4 for 9 for Rashid Khan.
No, it's 29 for 9.
Disgusting.
Right. We had a couple of questions. VJ Ruben asks, can Afghanistan qualify for the semi-final? I reckon they've got a 30% chance of qualification for the semi-final now. I still think they're likely to not to qualify, but I think the positive net run rate gives them a much better chance, and I actually think they're a better team than I thought they were. Kishore asks, can Afghanistan win the World Cup at this rate? I would say they have a 2% chance of winning the World Cup. Even if they make the semi-finals, I don't see them winning 2 50-50s against big sides. I think they'd be very slim favourites in both of those matches. And we've had some requests in, Max, to talk about the other big topic of the day. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yes. Yeah, would that be Ben Stokes making himself available for Australia?
Oh, there's actually
being
3
in the
topics.
Squad.
That's the third topic. That
was
wasn't
the
the
third
topic I was expecting you
what
to
was
say.
the other one?
Oh, well, we should say, Ben Stokes being in the side for England, that's obviously a big one, isn't it? You could see this coming. Like last week, he tweeted a video of himself bowling, didn't he?
Yeah, he's done some teasing.
I was going to say the 2 new IPL franchises. Have been announced. One in Lucknow, I think that's right, and one in Ahmedabad. Or Ahmedabad.
As suspected.
Yes, I think we knew that one would be at the Modi Dome.
Or
whatever it's called. Did you see what they sold for?
No. How much were they? Can you give it to me in? lakh?
I could, but I haven't got it. $950 million the Lucknow one went to the, what are they called? RPSG Group, the Rising Pune Supergiants Group. That's not what they're called, but the conglomerate that are there. Goepka, I think the bloke's name is. I'm looking forward to learning more about him. That's a lot of bloody money, though, isn't it? That's more than a Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, that's serious dollars. What? How long do they think are they expecting? What's the return on investment looking like on that one?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't crunched the numbers.
Hopefully, they last more than 2 years.
It was more than the Glazers were prepared to pay. I thought that was interesting that the Glazers were interested in an IPL side. I'm glad they didn't get one, because the last thing India needs is fucking
Glazers.
billions of pounds being siphoned off to Florida every year by Malcolm Glazer.
Yeah,
But,
I suppose when you think about it, it's not that surprising, is it? There's a lot of money in the IPL, so he probably. Well, I'll have some get my greasy mitts on that.
yeah, I wanted to
Now
organise a bid, but I don't think I'd have been able to find $950 million. The other franchise, I think the
Not
one
unless
that
we get some more Patreons.
the one that will play in Ahmedabad, I think that went for about $700 million US dollars. So it was a good day for the BCCI. Is the upshot of that?
Yeah.
That's Sir Afghan Gughli. He's going to be on the Moe tonight. He had a heart attack, didn't he? So he'd probably best stay off the Moe for a little while. He's having a nice glass of refreshing Evian or other premium water brand tonight. I'd have thought. We've had a question from Suraj, and I will ask this, and then we'll try and wrap this up. I think, so we said we only do about 20 minutes. Do you think puns like "they just run out of luck now" might be a regular feature in IPL commentary?
Oh no! Oh God! Yeah, absolutely. and who do we think is going to be the most likely to bring those out? I've got a feeling that a certain man who has a good impression of him done by Daniel Norcross might be looking out for that kind of thing.
Yes, it's possible, isn't it? I mean,
Pommy and Bangwell likes a pun as well, doesn't he? He'll be getting involved.
Yeah, I actually haven't got that much more to add on the IPL. I was following it along on the Hindustan Times live blog, which was exciting.
Yep.
It's an astronomical amount of money. I mean, basically what it does is it confirms that the IPL is like
big bucks
on the level now, isn't it? It's up there with all of the major sporting events, and I can only imagine in the next 5 years that we'll see another 2 teams and probably another couple of teams after that will play.
I think promotion and relegation.
Yeah, I think the long-term view with the BCCI, I'd have thought. No, I don't think they'll do promotion and relegation. I think they'll do an American conference system. So you'll have, I don't know, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, or the Southern Conference and the Northern Conference, or the East, the South, the North, and the West. I reckon there'll be up to 20 teams in the next 10 years, and I think it will be a tournament that lasts from February to the end of May.
That's a lot of cricket.
There's a lot of cricket. I don't think we'll be doing. I don't think we'll be able to do a show a day for that length of time.
Not unless I quit my job.
And finally, Aditya asks in the chat, how do you or Dan Weston analyse data? Some video about analysis and algorithms. I'm not going to do a video about it. The best thing to do is to sign up as a Patreon of ours, patreon.com/thecricketpod, and there's a file on there that has the ball-by-ball data for the whole history of the IPL. And the way we set it up is that, basically with a pivot table, you can just answer probably 85-90% of the queries that you'd have about the game. You can work out strike rates, you can work out strike rates in different phases, different matchups, etc., like how you perform at different venues. All of this stuff you can tease out relatively easily with some basic maths there. I guess if you're from India, we should probably say that if you don't have, you can't. I don't think you can access Patreon at the moment. So if you go to our Twitter @thecricketpod and send us a DM, we'll just send you the file for free because we're nice. We don't say that very often, but because it's the Afghanistan-Scotland game and there aren't that many people watching. There we go. Thank you. I think, Max, we're going to wrap up there, aren't we? Because we didn't want to do a long one today. We've got to keep our powder dry. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching along. We will be back probably tomorrow with Cricket World Cup, T20 Cricket World Cup.
That's still happening. Apparently.
2021 T20 Cricket World Cup. It's going to be good. Bye. How to be a professional data